Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be taking a look at a few new products. I have two of the new color washes from Victoria Beckham. We also have some new shades from MAC. I have the lip gloss and the new glossy lip glazer. And we also have the new NATASHA Denona mini Gloom palette as well as the Taupe eyeliner. So let's go ahead and let's get started. We're going to start off with the new Victoria Beckham color wash, and there are three different shades. I purchased two of them. The third shade is going to be warmer tone than the two that I picked up. So the first shade here is Flush, and you can see this is going to be a thin liquid. It's a blush water tint. We have a dropper style tube here. So depress it, put it in, and you can withdraw your liquid. And we do have a frosted glass jar here. So this is probably not something you want to carry around in your purse. I'm trying to just dispense a little amount. You can see some up close swatches in a minute before we do the cheek swatches. And you can see that this is going to give you a lovely soft reddish hue to it. It's a nice flushed red cheek here. I think it's a really pretty shade and it's going to be pretty neutral. Then the last shade here, the other shade that I have is Vintage Rose. Going to be more of a berry. You can see it looks super dark here. And this one has a bit more purple in it. It's going to be cooler in tone. Think of a purple rose. So it's like purple mixed with a rosy pink here. And when you build this up, you can see a bit more purple, but when you blend it out, you actually end up seeing a little bit more pink. So we've got cool, neutral, and the other shade that I did not pick up is a coral shade. And I do want to mention that these will stain your skin for a while. So they do last all day. They will leave a stain if you use your fingers for application. Even with makeup remover, they can be a little tough to get off right away with fingers. It's easier on the hand. I think it's just, you know, the different skin texture and so forth. So just something to note there. Now, as we're looking at these on the cheeks, we did the first application just with a quick fingertip application. You can see a really light sheer layer here. And with a very sheer layer, the shade Flushed, it's barely perceptible on my skin. It's very, very light. Since I have some natural redness in my cheeks, it sort of blends in anyway. The Vintage Rose, however, will stand out a little bit more, even with a sheer layer. It's going to be a bit more pigmented. So that's just something to note. As for product details, these retail for $46 US. We have 6 milliliters of product, and these are going to have a 6-month shelf life, and they are made in Italy. These are a cruelty-free, clean beauty product. According to Victoria Beckham, it says a long-wear watercolor-inspired flush in 3 energizing shades and delivered in a refreshing skin-loving formula. This water-light tint soaks into skin with a diffused bloom of color that looks like it's naturally rising from within. We have a slow-setting stain, and that is going to allow for blendability, so you can kind of blend that in, get the perfect look before it sets, and it does set for the day. There is a long-wear watercolor bloom, and that is just referring to how it will stay kind of that vibrant stain throughout the day. And we have activated water technology. It says it's formulated with seawater sourced from the rocky cliffs of northern France for mineral-rich hydration. I don't notice anything special about that personally. So liquid blushes are not a new product. We've seen them before from Daniel Sandler, notably, and his watercolor blushes have been great. I don't currently have any of those, but I used to wear those a long time ago. And these Victoria Beckham color washes remind me very much so of them texturally. Obviously, our colors here are going to be a little bit different. They remind me more of the liquid blushes that came out with Bobbi Brown's grunge collection last year, which I love those, but those are going to be a slightly different kind of formula. So they're a thin liquid as well, but they are a little bit, we'll take a look at those in a second. But the big difference here is this is really going to be a water-based stain that soaks in. And because it does stain, please make sure that you are careful when you're applying this, not to get it on your clothing or so forth. It can be a little messy to use some liquid products. So this is definitely not something that you want to play with on the go. Now, my favorite way of applying these is to put a swatch on the back of my hand and then use the SUQQU Mini Sheer Buffer for application. I think that is the perfect brush for this. Any sort of small, soft buffer brush would work well. Something like the Refer 17 would be another option there. The Victoria Beckham website does recommend either dotting it on directly with the applicator without actually dispensing it. Just dot on the product and then tap it on, or putting a swatch on the back of your hand and using a similar style brush. So let's take a look at the Bobbi Brown cheek oils. And as I mentioned, these are going to be a little bit different because these are not a water-based stain like the Victoria Beckham. And these are cheek oil. So I did label the colors. This one here is exposed, and the texture of these is going to be a little bit more of a cheek gloss. So it's going to stay kind of a little glossy, and you have a little bit of that glossy texture on your skin. The color does set, but the glossy texture that's kind of like on the overcoat or top coat there, you can kind of still feel that. So that's the shade Exposed. It's a little bit more brown than what we have in the Vintage Rose. We also have Bitten Cherry here, and this one here is going to be more of a cherry red. It's going to be cooler in tone than the shade Flushed, which is slightly warmer. And then we also have Heat, which is going to be a warmer tone red. And this one it's still going to be a little bit cooler in tone than the shade Flushed. So it's still a cool tone version. It's more of a neutral red. So it's got more warmth than the other two, but it's still not quite as warm or rosy as Flushed. So these are the Bobbi Brown cheek oils versus the Victoria Beckham color wash. Now let's go ahead and move into the NATASHA Denona Mini Gloom palette. And as soon as I saw this, I knew this was one that I was going to pick up. Now, when you look at these in the pan, you don't necessarily notice the nuances. And even on the eyes, if you blend them out softly, you don't always see them. So this first shade here is going to be more of a medium tone brown, but you can actually see when you buff that out, you get a bit of an olive green in there. So all of these shades, for the most part, are going to have kind of a touch of green in the base. Our next shade here, again, it kind of looks more of a pewter silver, but again, when you shear this one out, you can see some sage green in here. So again, a little bit of that green hue. This next shade here does look like a straight up olive green. This is going to be a matte, and that's basically what it is. So those are our first three shades. Then this one here is this really stunning teal. Look at this. I mean, when you build this up, you get a really beautiful metallic teal. When you buff it out, it's going to be a little bit softer, and you get a little bit more of a neutral base to it, a little bit more of a brownish shade in the base. And then our last shade here is going to be a warm rose here, and really, really nice here. So I think this is a really nice set of colors. Let's take a look at these on the eyes. Now in the demos, I am applying a lighter layer first with the Refer 02 Max, and then I'll go back in with a fingertip application so you can see how the color changes with the fingertip application, as well as the level of pigmentation that you can get. The palette retails for $27 US. We have 5 shades at 0.8 grams a piece. It's made in Italy. It's not tested on animals. It's paraben, alcohol, and mineral oil free. Also D5 free. We have a 2-year shelf life. According to NATASHA Denona, the Mini Gloom eyeshadow palette is a 5-pan modern take on moody, mossy tones, featuring cool tone muted greens and shimmering pops of taupe and rose. Each shade is crafted in NATASHA's iconic matte, metallic, and sparkling formulas, designed to create everything from chic, neutral eyes to trendy, sophisticated, sparkling looks. To me, this palette is an updated version of the Mini Retro, which is still my all-time favorite mini from NATASHA Denona. I think this is a really nice palette if you like any of those grungy greens or you like grungy shades in general. I think the pop of teal in here really makes it a little bit more modern and adds a different take on this, so it's not truly just a grungy green palette. I think the warm pink in here also provides a really nice accent and blends well with the other shades to slightly alter the tones. The shades in this palette, we have Cinder, the first shade, and Moss, the third shade, which are going to be creamy mattes. The second and fifth shade, Zephyr and Glint, are going to be metallic shades, while Verdant is going to be a sparkly metallic, and you can feel that one has a little bit more texture to it. The sparkle is going to be a little bit more intense, and it's a little bit grittier per se, because we do have a few more sparkle pieces in here. It's a little bit, the pieces are a little bit larger as well. So with that shade, depending on how you apply that, I can get a little bit of fallout with that. All of the shades in here perform really well. They blend well together. I think the colors complement each other, and you can get a wide variety of looks. You could stick with just the neutral shades there to get more of a soft neutral look. You can use these as one and dones. You know, you've got a whole wide variety. You can go with lighter looks using the more pewter and the pink shade and so forth. So there are so many different things that you can do with this, and I think it's a very versatile palette. And the formulas from NATASHA DENONA are always very high quality. They perform well. I personally really enjoy her formulas. And sometimes with the larger palettes, we have a bit too much redundancy with the shades. So I love the minis because we have something different. But when you blend those colors, you can get some of those shades that you might have perhaps seen in a larger version of the palette. So let's do a quick comparison with the Mini Retro. So here's Mini Gloom. Here is Mini Retro. So you can see, you know, they both have some greens, but our greens in here are less olive, a bit more sage, and we have more of these pinks and peachy pinks. So the vibe is still going to be a little bit different while still kind of having a little bit of that grunge kind of, you know, association. So you know what, let's go ahead. I'm going to put the first shade down here just so we can kind of see how it compares to our lighter pink shade. Then we'll go with the second shade here and put that by our metallic teal. You can see this is going to be a bit more of a silvery green there. We have a nice sage green in the middle. You can see this is going to be a bit more neutral. There's a bit more blue in it, but it's not a blue-green per se. And then we have a matte peach. You can see that's going to be warm in tone. And then we have a soft metallic pink with peachy golden notes to it. So this is Mini Retro versus Mini Gloom. So I hope that was helpful. I also picked up the new Macro Tech Eye Crayon from NATASHA DENONA as well in the shade Taupe. So you can see I still have staining here. We'll put the taupe right over here. And this is a really nice neutral brown here. And I think, you know, the Macro Tech eye crayons, they remind me a lot of the old Marc Jacobs eyeliners. So I love the formula of these. And you can use this as an all over crayon. It makes a nice base for the palette as well. I used it today just as an eyeliner, so let's take a look at that. I think this taupe shade is actually the perfect everyday brown shade where you want just something to kind of accent those lashes and the lash line, but you don't want anything too dark. I think this is a great shade for that. It's really much more of a neutral, medium tone brown. The eye crayon retails for $24 US. We have an 18-month shelf life and it's made in Italy. We have 1.2 grams of product. And according to NATASHA DENONA, it says delivering a rich velvety blend with high pigmentation and control, the Macro Tech Eye Crayon is an essential, long-lasting, creamy eyeliner pencil. This essential glides effortlessly to provide one-stroke, rich color payoff and 24-hour smudge-free wear, while its sharpenable design ensures precision with every application. It is going to be cruelty-free and paraben-free, and I think it's a really nice product. I think this shade works really well with this palette, but it's also just a great everyday shade. I actually think this is going to go into my regular rotation along with the Prada eyeliner in the shade Ember, which is another one of my favorites. All right, so one more time, this is going to be the shade Taupe, and you can see this hasn't been on that long, but it's already resisting the smudge. So it definitely holds up really well. Now the shade Ember from Prada is going to be a bit cooler in tone. There's a bit more gray in it. So I wanted to take a look at a couple of more brown shades. This is Prada in Wood, which you can see is slightly warmer, but they're going to be pretty close. I would say that this is going to be more of a true neutral, whereas the Taupe is neutral with a little bit more of a cooler lean to it. And then we have the Valentino Color Graph in Brown Fondant, and this one is going to be a shimmery brown. And this is a very similar shade to the Taupe. It's just that we have a cooler shimmer on top, so it gives a slightly cooler, you know, a cooler overall appearance to it, but the base shade on here is fairly similar. The Prada and Valentino eyeliners are some of my favorites. They're creamy, they set, they stay put. I also want to mention the Victoria Beckham eyeliners because if you're a fan of those, and I think most people are, those are really great creamy eyeliners, and those are great for smudging out and then they'll kind of set. But when you leave it built up like this, it doesn't really set and stay put, particularly if you put it like on the waterline, at least for me. And I feel like the NATASHA DENONA does have a similar texture to the Victoria Beckham, but it will set even when you have it layered like this in a more pigmented application. Now, MAC has released some new shades, and there's also this like squirting lip balm lip gloss kind of product, which I did order. I bought that, I received it, but it came with some of my daughter's stuff from Nordstrom, and it is missing at the moment. So I don't have that one here with me today. I'll have to, you know, see if I can track it down. It's probably in her room somewhere. But we have the glossy lip glazer. So this is a new glossy lip liner, and this, I love this. It's such a pretty shade. This is going to be a really nice, it's berry with like a cool tone rosy pink in here. And this particular shade is called Nightmoth. And I have this on as my base, and then I topped it with the lip glass. And this is shade 231 Sublime. And you can put this on very, very sheerly for just a light wash, or you can build it up for a little bit more pigmentation. Now the lip glazer you can actually just wear on its own, and because it has a little bit of a glossy sheen to it, it looks like a regular lip product, but it lasts longer. So as you're looking at these lip swatches, you can see that this lip glazer is really easy to apply. You can kind of smack your lips together and move it around easily on your lips to kind of fill it in, and you have a little bit of, I would say, a medium amount of shine or sheen to it. So it looks really nice, and it does last for a long time on the lips. It'll provide a stain. I wouldn't say it necessarily lasts all day on its own. You will get some wear from this throughout the day, you know, from eating and drinking and so forth, but it holds up longer than a traditional lipstick by an hour or two. Now, the last time I used a MAC lip pencil, I did have an allergic reaction to it, and I have to try another one to see if it was something specific to this shade, but I have not had any sort of reaction with the lip glazer, so just something to note there. The lip gloss is going to be, you know, it's like your traditional MAC lip gloss. We have the same vanilla scent and so forth that we've had in the past, and it's your traditional gloss. It's not sticky, it's high shine. I think it's a really nice product. And I think MAC is one of the few companies that has a really great selection of cooler tone lip products. And I love these. So again, it's the lip gloss in Sublime and Nightmoth in the lip glazer. I think it's a great combination. Now, just a few details. The MAC Lip Glazer Glossy Liner is a softly shiny lip liner that lines, fills, and visibly volumizes for fuller looking lips, all in one easy glide. Glaze on juicy definition or fill in lips all over with buildable creamy color. And these retail for $25 US. There are a ton of shades available. We have 0.25 grams of product. It is going to be a twist up style product, and these are going to be made in Korea. And the lip gloss, this is actually the MAC Lip Gloss Air, which is a non-sticky gloss. And again, we do have that high shine finish. It retails for $25 US. We have 0.17 ounces or 5 milliliters of product. There's a 1-year shelf life on these, and it is made in Canada. According to MAC, it shines like glass and feels like air. That high shine look is so low maintenance with this non-sticky, hydrating, and addictive MAC Lip Glass Air lip gloss that delivers light as air wear and next level nourishing care. And it's been a while for me since I've worn a regular MAC lip gloss, but I have to say I don't notice anything majorly different, although it is definitely not sticky. So I feel like there was perhaps a little bit more stickiness with the traditional lip gloss. And again, I'm talking about from years ago. So, the more recent version I have not tried in a while. So one more time, here are the swatches. This is Nightmoth in the lip glazer, and this is Sublime in the lip gloss. And let's just do a quick summary of everything we talked about today. We started off with the Victoria Beckham Color Wash Liquid Blushes. I think these are really nice to give you a nice sheer wash of color. They can be a little bit messy, so I can't say that they're going to be a favorite product of mine, but I do really love the look and finish that you get on the skin with these. So they remind me a lot of the Daniel Sandler watercolor blushes. So if you like products like this, that might be a nice place to look because there's just a larger color selection for those. But I do like these Victoria Beckham ones. I am a bit disappointed though that the shelf life is only 6 months, especially if I'm not using an applicator directly on the skin, so there's no real contamination through that. Now, my personal opinion on these, if you're going to wear this every single day, it's like a daily, or you're going to get a lot of use out of it, I think this is a really nice product, particularly if there's a shade that you like. I think the shades that are here are really nice, and they're going to work well for a lot of people. But if this is a product that is going to kind of sit in a drawer most of the time, you're going to use it intermittently, I would look at some less expensive brands, because I do feel like $46 is a lot for a liquid blush that only lasts for 6 months. And I'm saying this as someone who routinely keeps their makeup past the expiration date, particularly powders and eyeshadows, any sort of powder product. Powders most often naturally have antimicrobial properties in them. So I feel like with a powder product, it's easier to keep it past the 6-month shelf life without seeing any sort of change in the actual product, in the scent, the texture, or so forth. But with a liquid, I feel like, in my experience, I have seen when you have a 6-month shelf life on a liquid, I've seen that changes to the product, mold and so forth, separation, things like that, those can occur closer to that 6-month shelf life. So I feel like a 6-month shelf life on a liquid is more accurate than it necessarily would be on a powder. And I did mention separation. Obviously you can shake a product, but sometimes when a product gets really old, you get to the point of separation where you're not going to re-emulsify that product. And that's what I was referring to. So overall, I think we've got some great colors here. If it's going to be a daily wear item, it might be worth it. But otherwise, I would check out some cheaper options such as Daniel Sandler. And moving on to the NATASHA Denona Mini Gloom. This is a beautiful palette. I really like it. I think it complements the Mini Retro well. I think it's a nice updated version of the Mini Retro. And I love how we've got some different tones in here. So we've got some warmer, grungy browns and greens. We've got some cooler tone shades here as well. We've got light shades for light neutral looks. We have some more fun colors. I think it's just a very versatile palette, and I'm very happy with it. So I think that's really nice. I love the new taupe eyeliner. I think that's gonna make it into my regular rotation. And as for the MAC products, I really like MAC lip products. I think they've got some great cool tone color options. The lip glazer is, I love this. I actually want to pick up more of the lip glazers in some other shades. The lip gloss air is a really nice, kind of a basic gloss. It does have your vanilla fragrance to it, but I think we've got a really great shade here, and there is going to be some pink shimmer in there. So let me know if you've tried any of these, what your thoughts are. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you very soon.